The 97th Academy Award nominees are here, and we are here to break it all down. We're going to go through the biggest categories. We're going to talk about who got nominated, who got snubbed. We're going to talk about some overarching themes and anything else relating to the Academy Award nominees. Let's get into it.
This is Popcorn for Breakfast, presented by St. Louis Area Smoothie Kings. Now, here are your hosts, Cam and Kirk.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Popcorn for Breakfast. As always, Kirk is here. And Kirk, today we are talking about the Academy Award nominees. That's right. Do the little mosquito hand thing, or what is it? Flies. Flies always do that.
Flies.
Yeah. Because this is always one of the best, most fun episodes. I love this time of year. Really, all the way from the point of like when we do top 10 lists at the end of the year, all the way through the end of the Oscars. From here, we get to do nomination reactions, then predictions, and then reactions to the actual winners. So it's just a lot of fun. This is a day this is a day that will live in infamy. It's always a day that people in the film community get up in arms about. And I was certainly there this morning after the nominees drop, before Stefano in our group chat reminded us that it's okay. It's just movies, you know. He brought us back down to earth with I was like, guys, we lost. It's over. This is a disaster. And he was like, but let's think about all the good nominations. And I was like, you're right.
Well, that's why we have Stefano as our liaison.
Yeah.
He is the optimist injection into the podcast.
You do have to remember that it is just movies, and it really doesn't matter at the end of all of it. I've part of the reason I got into movies, weirdly, is because of the Oscars, and because I loved this idea of watching all the Best Picture nominees every year and having an opinion on it. And it's just, there was something fun about the chase of it. It's less of a chase these days since we watch so many movies, and we've been fortunate enough to get screening access to a lot of the movies that are nominated this year. But the allure of it, you just can't deny it. Even though there are those years where you're like, never again. I can't believe, I can't believe La La Land didn't win Best Picture. I'll never pay any mind to this ever again. They always bring you back.
That's right.
They always bring you back.
My wife said several times today, she's like, they're over. I'm not watching this. After she saw the list, she's like, absolutely not. My wife, who has seen 3 movies this year.
right. It's always like, well, I haven't seen any of these, but they're awful.
That's right.
It's like, hey, it really, for whatever reason, it just really brings out the best and the worst in people when these come out, myself included. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through the biggest categories. We're going to go through the acting categories, directing, screenplay, and picture. And we're going to talk about who got nominated, who didn't get nominated, overall reactions. And then after that, we'll share some other stuff on the technical categories and any other storylines that we're tracking or following, or things that stuck out to us from the nominations. I do think there is just a ton to get to and a ton of storylines. So I'm excited to get started. Are you ready, Kirk?
I have been waiting for this since 8:30 this morning. Let's go.
Let's do it. All right. Well, let's start. We got the 97th Academy Awards. Let's start just like the award show itself starts, with the supporting category.
Oh, first there's a monologue by the opening comedian. I'll gladly take this right here.
Yeah,
Kim, if
since
you're
you're kind of like you kind of are like Conan Bryan. You're like the great value Conan Bryan. That's what you are.
Did you say Conan Bryan?
Who did I say?
You said Conan Bryan, not
Conan O'Brien.
O'Brien.
No, that's what I said. Conan Bryan.
When you edit this podcast,
that's because I'm trying to whitewash your Irish heritage out of this episode.
Just take away my legacy. Just take away Conan
to take
O'Brien.
Away the O apostrophe is to erase me.
Conan O'Brien, who's never won a late night talk show award for his 30 plus years. It continues on in our podcast as well. I'm so excited for Conan to host this. I won't do my own monologue that I prepared for tonight. We can move straight into the categories.
You might actually be the most excited for Conan O'Brien. I honestly, I don't throw that around lightly. I actually think it's possible that you, Kirk, are the most excited person for Conan O'Brien to host the Oscars.
Hey, listen, I just want to point out that I am only 2 degrees away from Conan O'Brien. Okay, listen.
Oh.
Because his assistant's assistant, it's a thing.
His assistant's assistant.
It's a big thing. His assistant is a bad assistant.
Right. There's like a bit.
There's a bit. She wrote a book about it. She makes money off of it, and he makes fun of her for it. Her assistant went to SIUE.
Oh.
Edwardsville. We went there.
Yes.
And he is mutual friends with some of my actual friends on Facebook. I'm 2 degrees away from Conan O'Brien, and I hope to put that in 1 degree one day.
Yeah, and other than the fact that he's like a zillion feet tall, like you guys could potentially maybe be mistaken for each other. Maybe.
Right. If I stand on a box,
yes,
I think maybe.
And if you're like 100 yards away
and I shave,
it's possible.
And I get a little more hair.
Yeah.
It's possible.
It's possible.
Maybe we're related. Anyways, thank you for my time with Conan
You're
O'Brien
welcome.
today.
I had to give you that. So yeah, let's start as the show does with the supporting actor and actress categories. We're going to start with supporting actress, and the nominees are Monica Barbaro for A Complete Unknown, Ariana Grande Butera for Wicked. She that is her given name. That's her father's.
Wow.
That's her father's last name, and I guess that's her.
Well, that's so sweet.
That's what she wanted to be nominated as. That's what she's credited as in the movie.
That's right.
So there you go. Felicity Jones for The Brutalist, Isabella Rossellini for Conclave, and Zoe Saldana for Emilia Perez.
Mm-hmm.
Emilia Perez. I have the hardest time saying it.
Or is it Perez?
I think it's
right?
Perez, yeah.
Because the accent's over the first E.
Yes.
We'll mix that up 100 times tonight. So
I'm going to say it wrong 9 times out of 10. This is an interesting category.
Mm-hmm.
I think notable potential snubbery would be, I think a lot of people thought Jamie Lee Curtis would appear here for The Last Showgirl. And I think a lot of people thought that Margaret Qualley would appear here for The Substance, if The Substance did well.
Right.
Which, spoiler alert, it did. It got nominated for a lot of stuff. Margaret Qualley, not one of them, though. And I think if you were to identify a surprise nominee here, it would probably be Monica Barbaro, who has not really made a ton of appearances here so far in award season. How do you feel about this category?
I love this category. 3 out of the 5 are in a musical.
Yeah, as it turns out.
And I would pick Monica Barbaro as my winner.
You would pick her as the winner?
As the winner. Did you see that movie? She was...
Yeah, we reviewed it. Yes, I saw the movie. She was great.
She was perfect.
Yeah.
She was perfect. She didn't have a bad moment in that movie.
Yeah, this is one of those instances where it's a surprise, but it's a pleasant surprise.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, would I have loved to see Margaret Qualley nominated? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
But, you know, it is sort of the nature of the beast. There are only 5 slots, and it's hard to argue with any of these. Though, here's my one argument. Zoe. Love Zoe. And before you throw your tomatoes, let me just say I'm not arguing that she did a bad job. I don't think she did. I think she's a lead actor in that movie.
Yes.
I think she's the lead.
Yes. She's miscategorized.
Right?
Yes.
I find it's one of those things where, yes, there's like 4 characters in that movie that share a lot of screen time. She definitely gets the most, though.
Oh, yeah. You see
she's there from the very beginning and at the very end, straight through. And I mean, she's driving most of that. I'm just, it's one of these things where Carla Sofia Gascon is the titular role of Emilia Perez. So they're like, that's the lead, but it's like, that's not exactly how that works, you know? And in this case, I really think you could make a strong case that Zoe is in fact the lead of that movie, and that Carla may actually fit better in this supporting category, though, you know, you could argue they're co-leads or something like that.
Right. But
I really do think that this is a miscategorization, and it does matter because you only get 5 slots, right? So then you've got somebody like a Margaret Qualley or a Jamie Lee Curtis, though she's already won, so get her out of here.
Bye.
Who miss out. So that's the one thing. But I do think Monica Barbaro, I agree with you. Good choice by the Academy here. I would actually give this to Felicity Jones if it were me. Love that performance. And I love Felicity Jones. I think she did a great job. I think she's underrated. But I do think this is a solid category.
She was great. I also love that in our chat, our roundabout chat about The Brutalist, is that I loved part 2.
Yes.
After the intermission, more than part 1. I think you and Stefano like more favored part 1 before the intermission. First half. I loved it because Felicity Jones entered the chat.
Yeah, she does. And she brings the energy. She brings the thunder for sure.
Yeah,
but good category overall. I don't have major gripes with this one.
Not bad at all.
Moving on to supporting actor, we've got Yura Borisov for Honora, Kieran Culkin for A Real Pain, Edward Norton for A Complete Unknown, Guy Pearce for The Brutalist, and Jeremy Strong for The Apprentice. So we've got a little Succession situation happening here, which is fun. I didn't really notice that until later, though. We've got 2 of the Roy brothers. We just need Alan Ruck to maybe next year.
Which basically that picture that you have of Edward Norton looks like Alan Ruck.
It could be. It could be. If you squint, you're like, yeah, it could be. This is another category where I really don't feel like there are major surprises. I don't even feel like there's one on here that's like fallen out of my chair. Like I think over the last couple of weeks, the Jeremy Strong momentum had started to build. Him and Sebastian Stan sort of both, you know, you could kind of see them rising up the leaderboard with the campaigning on that front. And I think, you know, the Golden Globes and things like that helped that case with Sebastian Stan's win he won in what, comedy or musical?
Something.
Or am I totally wrong about that? I didn't watch the Globes because the Globes are garbage, but I'll fact check that. But I do feel like there has been some momentum building for that. But anything here that surprised you at all?
Not at all. It's seemingly that the easiest thing to vote for is best supporting actor in a film. It seems like the stakes are lower, even though the performances are big and they matter and they're important and they are the one of the foundations of our scoring, like we do, and the Oscar goes to a scene stealer. Scene stealer, ironically, is always the hardest for me to pick when we rate our episodes here. But so far, top 2 categories: best supporting actress, best supporting actor. Easy, no surprises. Sounds strong to me.
Yeah. Oh, so Sebastian Stan won his Globe for
A Different
Man.
Fantastic.
That's what's confusing about it. Anyway, so I felt like there was some momentum building. Maybe not, but I did feel like the Jeremy Strong thing had been something that I had heard of. So
who's your pick here?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Like I think it's Kieran probably, but I don't know for sure. I wouldn't be mad about any of these, to be honest with you.
I would be mad about Edward Norton, actually.
Would you?
I would. This is not, I mean, he did a fine performance. He's a shapeshifter.
Yeah.
But I don't like his performance, even though it's good.
You don't like his performance, even though it's good?
Yes, it was spot on.
You don't like his character, or you?
I don't like the character
Yeah.
so much that I don't want him to win an award for it.
Yeah. I'm indifferent, to be honest. I don't have strong opinions on this category. I think, you know, I did watch The Apprentice. I think Jeremy Strong was good. I thought Guy Pearce from The Brutalist was great. I'm a little bit, you know, the Yura Borisov thing, I kind of get. It's a very understated performance, and I think there's a lot of nuance to it that people don't totally get. There's another performer in that movie that's a supporting actor that's much flashier performance, and I've seen a lot of people be like, what's going on here? But I think for me, it's kind of a 2-horse race between Kieran and Guy Pearce, and I don't really know which one I prefer.
I go Kieran all the way. There's a moment in A Real Pain where he broke my heart.
Yeah.
In a single second, and it was perfect.
He's great in that movie, and I think we talked about it on the podcast. It's not just him recycling his performance from Succession, which I think, you know, some of the critics of it have been pointing to. Part of that is that a lot of his characters that he plays are very close to himself.
Right.
You know, he draws from that, and so it kind of exists on a spectrum where that character is very clearly different from the Roman Roy character in a lot of ways, but they're both similar to Kieran Culkin. And so there are essences to it.
Indeed.
So yeah, I like the Kieran pick. I think he's probably the odds on favorite right now, and it's hard to argue with it.
Correct.
To be honest. All right, let's move on to the lead acting categories. This is where things get a little bit more interesting. Let's start with Best Actress in a Leading Role. We got Cynthia Erivo for Wicked, Carla Sofia Gascon for Emilia Perez, Mikey Madison for Honora, Demi Moore for The Substance, and Fernanda Torres for I'm Still Here. Here is my favorite. You ready for this? My favorite Oscar tidbit of all that I've seen today. Have you seen this one?
No.
Fernanda Torres?
No.
Fernanda Torres is the second Brazilian actor to be nominated, and the first for an Oscar. And the first one was her mother, Fernanda Montenegro. And
I did see that.
That's awesome.
Yes.
I just think that's like the coolest thing ever. I don't know. It's like one of those weird sports stats that you see and you're like, that is crazy. Like, and this is one of those things that I I think it rocks.
Yeah, you're not allowed to. There was big controversy a couple of years ago with Andrea Riseborough about you're not allowed to campaign for your Oscar win, and she didn't. No, she didn't tell people to go out, and she was fantastic in her film to Leslie. But I feel like I want everyone to run with that story because right now she is my pick to win it because I love that story. Haven't seen the movie yet. It is not available.
It's not anywhere.
Which is one of the worst things about Oscar picks.
I know.
Is that the accessibility to that one movie that's like a linchpin for a big category like this. But I'm waiting to see it. I think it comes through our way in February.
Yeah, I think too. We even got like access to screenings this year, and we still didn't get an I'm Still Here screening. And we got Sing Sing and Nickel Boys, but because of how scheduling lined up, we still missed it. And it's like you miss one of those for whether they're just in theaters for just a little bit, or you miss this. In our case, we missed the screening or whatever. It's like gone. Dust in the wind,
right?
You're waiting until like the week before the Oscars when the studios are trying to get a cash grab out of getting $19.99 out of your pocket.
Yeah,
it sucks.
That's why you were so conflicted about seeing Better Man, the Robbie Williams.
It's why, because I was like, I don't know. People are saying this thing's amazing. What if it gets nominated? Which, by the way, it did get nominated for one Academy Award, visual effects.
And I convinced you to stay home.
So thanks a lot for that. But yeah, I mean, I'm Still Here is one of the ones that eludes me right now, which sucks. But I like that you're just like, screw it, I'll vote for her anyway. I want to get this fact right because I think it's a cool factoid, and Popbase tweeted it out in a very eloquent way, so I'll read it. In 1999, Fernanda Montenegro made history as the first Brazilian and Latin American actress to receive an Academy Award nomination for Best Actress. It's now 26 years later, and her daughter Fernanda Torres follows in her footsteps, being the second Brazilian to be nominated for Best Actress at the Oscars. I mean, that's just cool.
That doesn't happen. That's incredible. I love it so much.
Beyond that, I'm hard on the Mikey Madison train here. Yeah, I've seen all of these performances except for the Fernanda Torres I'm Still Here performance, so jury's still out on that, but I'm like Mikey Madison clears by a significant margin for me. I think the Demi Moore nostalgia, momentum, redemption tour thing could factor in. We've seen it happen at the Oscars before, and I'm certainly not going to throw a fit if that happens. I think Mikey Madison, it's one of those things too where it's like it gets into all the politics of like, well, do you give it to who deserves it or who
doesn't have much time left on this
earth? or may not get many more cracks at it. And I always hate that because it's like, all of this is temporary. You should give it to the best performance regardless.
Right. It's hard.
Which in my case, I would make a strong case for Mikey Madison.
I've not seen Anora yet. My favorite thing about Anora when I think about Mikey Madison is that there are two movies in which she is killed in a very dramatic, stylistic way.
Yes.
For the first one, the first time introduction we really saw her in a mass scale was, of course, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and then in Scream 6, she got murdered in almost the exact same way,
horrifically. Yeah,
and it was so funny because it mimicked that. And I don't even think it was intentional. It's just that it was already in the script, and it should
just become a running bit for her career. Like, hey, like she just talks to the screenwriter while they're in production. If there's any way for you to horribly maim me at the end of this,
yes,
that would be great. I'm trying to do a thing here.
Yes, and then when I get my my award, my Lifetime Achievement Award, they will supercut all of my deaths.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, the other thing to call out here, Carla Sofia Gascon, first transgender woman to be nominated for an Academy Award, which I think we'll talk about Emilia Perez a lot. It got nominated for a zillion awards, but I do think that's a big part of its appeal to the Academy is that they're kind of like,
we haven't done this yet.
For better or worse, it's like this is the first transgender movie. I would say that it's for worse because it's like this is a movie about the transgender experience that the trans community doesn't even like, or that the LGBTQ. It's that movie, man. It's a movie about a trans woman that the LGBT community says is gross. It's a movie about Mexican culture that Mexican people say is gross. I'm just like, we'll get into it. We'll get into it more. I gotta bury the lead a little bit, but I did have to call that out as a historical milestone, even though it's attached to Emilia Perez, which we've been vocal about on this podcast.
Yes.
Any chance for any of these other ladies? Cynthia Erivo, I think probably not.
Fun fact about her performance: it's her second leading actress nomination. Her first came in Harriet, and this is number 2 for her. So bravo! And they're pretty close together. Within 5 years, I think.
She didn't EGOT already? No,
not yet. This might do it right
happening.
here.
Yeah. I mean, if not now, at some point. She's one of those where you're just like, yep. It's like Lin-Manuel Miranda. Like, yeah, that's happening at some point.
Well, it's either Wicked Part 1 or Wicked for
Part
Good.
Part 2. Yeah, yeah. Wicked for Good. Maybe she could swing back around. Did you make a pick for this one? I'm sorry, Fernanda Torres.
I did. Fernanda Torres
for the movie you haven't seen.
Man.
I love it. I love it.
I love a movie that promises me that I will be destroyed by their performance. I believe in it right now.
Yeah, and I think that the For Leslie situation where you were like, you had heard about built the momentum.
Yeah.
And then you saw it and you're like, this is so great. You're like, I don't even need to see it now.
It's true. And then I saw it after it came out, like the day before the Oscars or the day after. And I watched it immediately and I was like, she should have won.
Yeah. Yeah. Shout out Andrea Riseborough.
Yes.
All right. Moving on. Best actor. We've got Adrian Brody for The Brutalist, Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing, Timothée Chalamet for A Complete Unknown, Ralph Fiennes for Conclave, and Sebastian Stan for The Apprentice. Not for A Different Man, which I think is interesting. He had 2 performances that people thought were really awards worthy. It's surprising that didn't like split the vote. You know how that can sometimes happen. And he ends up getting in there for A Different Man. I think that for me was the one nomination that I was like, oh, in this category specifically, that I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
What do you think about this category overall?
Well, as always, I wish the worst for Timothée Chalamet.
That goes without saying.
Although I will say I got some friction on my personal TikTok about saying how I didn't want him to be nominated. And of course, I knew he would be nominated. But I opened myself up. I watched Beautiful Boy today.
Oh, nice.
Yep. And I think that that is one of his top 4 performances. I'm going to rank them later this month or next month. I've got a list going right now. I just want to put my thoughts together. But I don't want him to win at all. I would really be happy with Adrian Brody or Coleman Domingo winning for this particular category.
Yeah. It's so you get some flack. You knew you were going to get that though, right?
Oh yeah.
I saw the TikTok. I was
yeah.
I mean, I knew that was coming.
But I defended myself with facts, and that's what they weren't ready for. They were just ready for like this mindless guy, like, oh, he's like young and he's skinny and he's in theater and he's in Hollywood. And I'm like, no, here's the facts. And I actually stopped some people in their tracks. And I reflected well on other people's opinions, and I didn't scream at anybody. I didn't call anybody names.
That's right.
Some people tried to call me names, and I just didn't even pay attention to it. I just said, hey, listen, let's talk about how bad he is and why he's bad. I want him to do better, but he's not good so far. But
I'm proud of you.
I could go on I could create a whole podcast just talking about Timothée Chalamet's performances.
So this is my factoid for this category is a personal factoid related to Timothée Chalamet.
What?
Which is that I believe there are 2 people in this category that are nominated correctly, but for the wrong movie.
Yes.
I think Timothy should have gotten for Dune. I really do. And I know people are sleeping on Dune hard. I don't really know why. I guess it's because it came out earlier in the year. But I actually, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, do think that he did a good enough job in that movie to get nominated here. And B, I don't know if I said 1 first or A. Sebastian Stan should have been nominated for A Different Man, which I thought was a much more dynamic performance from him, more demanding. The Trump thing that he did for The Apprentice, first of all, I just didn't think that movie was very good. I watched it today and didn't do much for me. It just felt like there's not a lot of story going on there.
Did it feel like it was rushed to get out there for the election year?
Yeah, it felt like they didn't have a story.
Yeah.
It felt like they had here are some things I want to say about Donald Trump. Here are some opinions I have about Donald Trump that are based on things that have happened or are alleged to have happened. And I want to get them in a movie. And I'm gonna it felt like a badly written high school essay where it's like the in high school, sometimes you have 3 good points to write in your in your essay, but you don't know how to tie them together. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so it's like there were moments in that movie that's like, this is pretty good. and then it was like the in between was like what? It was like
Yeah.
boring and weird and just not overall,
Yeah,
just not.
they
very
should
good.
have waited 16 years. How what's his face did Vice with Dick Cheney. They needed to do
Oh.
this in the future, and maybe they still will. But this
Yeah,
was
Vice
too
was
soon.
Vice was awful too. I
It
just
was.
think if you're making a movie to just like vent your political leanings, maybe think otherwise.
Do a good job, because if you don't do a good job,
Right.
it's not a good movie.
Right. I think a lot of times people are just like, I need to make a movie about this because I'm so mad. And it's like, it makes bad movies.
Yeah, be mad, collect your thoughts.
You
and-
probably have good points to make.
right,
That we would listen to.
right.
But you undermine your points by making a bad film. It's like, it's counterproductive is what it is.
Then no one's gonna make a movie about this
Yeah.
issue for a long time.
Yeah,
because
because
they'll be thinking about that.
You screwed it up for everybody else.
You screwed it up.
But I think A Different Man, on another note, I watched earlier this week.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a perfect movie by any means, but it's a lot more dynamic movie. And I think the performance for Sebastian Stan is more demanding and brings a lot more to the table. I think it's just one of these things where they're like, oh, he did Trump in a movie. We have to, because it's relevant. I don't know. At any rate, I wouldn't have him win, and I wouldn't have Timothy win either.
Thank you.
My pick is Adrian Brody.
Hey,
AI vowels and all. I'll take it. Though I do feel like I'm more mad about that situation than most people are. I feel like even like Stefano like brushed it off and was like, "It's all good. Here's a situation." And a lot of people are like, "Oh, they're just like tweaking some things here and there." I'm still kind of in the camp of like, tweak nothing.
what's funny is I feel like you're angrier about the performance AI when the public discourse is angrier about the drawings, the AI drawings.
But why?
CGI buildings are in every movie,
I'm just thinking.
so having AI write it, no big deal.
I don't really think it's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
It was going to be made up anyway.
The only this part's very hard, right? They fixed the Hungarian dialect,
Yeah.
using AI, using something called respeecher.
Right.
Now, oftentimes you might have different effects on a voice to create a scene, right? But this is specifically in a very realistic, grounded film. It is still fiction, right? But I don't like it either. I'm with you.
Have you seen the since made viral clip of Sebastian Stan reacting to Adrian Brody talking about this?
No.
Have you seen it?
No.
Okay, so they're in some sort of roundtable. I hadn't even seen the original video talking about their performances. It's almost like an actors on actors thing. Somebody, if anybody knows out there what the actual source of the video is, please let me know. But it's some sort of acting roundtable, and Adrian Brody is talking about speaking with accents in the movie, and he's talking about the Brutalist and whatever. And they cut to Sebastian Stan, who's sitting on the other side of the table, just with a stank face. He's just like watching Adrian Brody talk about it. And I think that's because Sebastian Stan, he's like Hungarian or something.
He's Romanian.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like from the Slavic region and has had
Yes.
to do American accents for so long.
Yes.
And people were insinuating that he's like, screw you, dude. Like,
yeah.
tell me about it. It's hard going the other way too, and nobody's ever given me a break for it. And so I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I think the vowel sounds thing, I don't love it. I don't love it. Even though it's just tweaks, I'm just like, I want as unaltered of a performance as possible. Otherwise, it's like, how do you nominate? Like, how do you evaluate it? And especially when you're talking about a guy who's doing an accent,
Right.
that's a big deal. And the same with Felicity Jones. Like, it matters.
I guarantee you about 4 people in the in the world would be like, he's not Hungarian.
Right.
I hate how his vowels sounded. Everyone else would be like,
Exactly.
wow, he did a great job.
Sound great to me. Yeah, it's just, it seems unnecessary, and that's what I
Yes.
don't like about it. But I'd still give it to Adrian Brody. All
Mhm.
that being said, if you're mad about the CGI building or the AI building
Mhm.
designs, let me know, because that was the part for me that I was like, don't care, because I don't know. It's just like, what do you think they would have done otherwise if they're making this movie? They're going to Google brutalist architecture. I feel like
Right.
the AI thing was just a speed ramp.
Right.
It was like getting to them to the same result faster.
They needed to build the buildings with AI so they could focus on the manual AI
Yeah.
follow-up for the voices.
It's the same reason why if I have a question that has multiple facets to it because I'm inarticulate, I put it in GPT. I put it in Chat GPT instead of Googling it, because Chat GPT is going to decipher my nonsense and come out with a good answer faster.
Yeah.
Whereas Google's going to give me like, what were you trying to say? Did you want this? And then I'm like, no, I wanted this, and then you refine it.
We should just chat GPT this entire episode. What do you think? Like, just like get a full
It wouldn't
script?
have anything to say.
No?
It'd probably criticize us. Like, you guys are idiots. Fair, if so. Okay, let's move on to directing. Now, this is a category I have some thoughts on. I'm cracking my neck. I was trying to crack my neck.
Just add that in post.
add some SFX. I'll use AI for it. Okay, best what do they call it? Achievement in directing. I call it best director. Jacques Audiard for Emilia Perez, Sean Baker for Honora, Brady Corbet. I've been calling him Corbett this whole award season like an idiot.
Listen, he was Corbett until he gained some steam on his awards.
He had to fancy it up a little bit.
I think he did.
He was Corbett until Rachel Sennott this morning said Corbet.
That's right.
That's probably what it was. Corley Farge. I can't. I might have messed that one up.
That's okay.
For The Substance, and James Mangold for A Complete Unknown. This category was the one that had me ready to end it. Not my life. To end my
you broke this table and you put it back together.
Bro, this was the one. I texted you guys this morning and I was like, I dry heaved when they read James Mangold for A Complete Unknown. I like James Mangold. I've been vocal about that on this show. A Complete Unknown ain't it. That movie is not very good. It's and above all else, it's bland.
Mm-hmm.
It's boring. It's not visually exciting. It's not exciting from a story perspective. It's just a boring movie. It's my opinion on it. And Denis, hello, Denis Villeneuve. What are we doing? Like, literally, what are we doing that Denis Villeneuve doesn't get nominated for Dune Part 2? I don't get it. I actually don't understand it at all. And actually, I'll talk about it a little bit more later. The awards that Dune got nominated for and didn't get nominated for make 0 sense to me. Truly 0 sense. To the point where I'm like, how did it even get nominated for Best Picture if these are the awards for which it was nominated?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't add up. Like, it actually doesn't. And to me, not having Denis in this category is a farce. And I think it is the biggest glaring omission in this entire slate of nominees. Like, you can talk snubs all you want. That's the one. That's the one snub for me where I'm just like, what in the world are we doing?
Yeah. Agreed.
And I think James Mangold is like, people, the question always is, if you're going to put them in, who are you going to kick out? James Mangold. Done.
Easy.
He's out. And let me tell you who's right behind him. Jacques.
With Emilia Perez.
I might get him out of there before James Mangold, to be honest. Because, we'll talk more about that movie. I keep saying that.
Just you wait.
But because the other one, you could kick both of them out because the other one is Edward Berger.
Yes.
Why is he not nominated? Conclave got nominated for a bunch of stuff, including Best Picture.
Conclave is gripping from the opening beat.
It's really well directed. Yes. It's really well directed. And so I'm like, what?
I have no care in the world for who wins this category.
No.
Which is one of the first years I could say that.
That's fair.
I don't care.
Well, I do kind of care. If Jacques wins or James Mangold wins, I mean, that's an outrage.
I feel like this category doesn't matter for the rest of time because it's like, oh, you won an Academy Award. What year? Oh.
I do feel like they've been kind of wilding with the director noms recently.
This category right here sums up the entire nominations in that the voting pool, whatever you want to call them, the active members, did not actually watch half of these movies.
I think you're right.
There's no reason that,
unfortunately,
this is the conclusion they came to.
It doesn't make sense.
Mm-mm.
And I think that directing sometimes, I feel like, is one of those leading indicators for the Academy Awards of how it's going to go. Like, not only who's nominated, but who wins, because it should, like, directing and picture should be pretty close together because it's like they're almost the same award.
Yes.
Really. And sometimes when you get weird director nominees like this, where it's like, how do we get here? it does make it does. I had the same thought as you. It makes you go, did everybody watch all the movies? Because
No.
it doesn't. It just the nominations are not adding up. But we can talk about that more later. Who's your pick
None.
out of these?
I pick none. I pick none.
None. Give me Brady. Screw it. I
Okay.
think they did cool stuff in that movie.
Sure.
And I think it looks good. I think that it all came together really well, and I think it was a very creative process. And I think that I love Sean Baker, and I love how he does his thing. And Honora was great, but give me Brady.
I'll
Give me
pick Brady if he cuts his hair.
Fair.
I can't stand his hair.
All right, screenplay. Let's buzz through these. Original screenplay. We've got Honora, The Brutalist, A Real Pain, September 5th, and The Substance. This is another kind of weird one. I think screenplay is always a little bit weird, particularly adapted, because I feel like a lot of times people don't know the source material,
Yeah.
which is kind of understandable. Like you have to watch the movie and read the source material. But I don't think there's any major glaring omissions here except for one. And I had to check myself here because I'm like, this is probably just me, but I feel like Challengers
Oh, sure.
for me should have been here. And I'm like, I haven't seen September 5th, but
Yeah.
get it out.
Yeah, it really could have been. My pick here is A Real Pain. Everything is special in this one, but I just really loved that story. It's so personal to Jesse Eisenberg, and for someone who is so neurodivergent as Jesse Eisenberg to be able to put himself over and over and over again in a vulnerable position for his career. But this one was the most sincere of it all, where he got to literally play a version of his life. And I loved it. I really thought it was so wonderful.
Yeah, I think this is one where I think if The Brutalist wins this one, it's probably winning the whole dang thing, because that will show kind of that, like, not only was it nominated, but it also won. So people were really picking up what they were putting down with The Brutalist. But if something like A Real Pain or The Substance wins this one, which would be my two, like I'd be really excited to see either of those two win it. I think that hurts The Brutalist big time.
Yes.
As a winner, which I do feel like the Brutalist. I was feeling pretty confident that The Brutalist was going to win Best Picture, and now I feel like that's waning a bit. Even with the 10 nominations, I do feel like it's closer post nominations than I thought it was going to be for Best Picture, but we can talk about that in a little bit. I think A Real Pain of the Substance is me jumping off the couch like, yeah, let's go. Because I talked about it in the episode that we did on A Real Pain. I think that screenplay rocks for all the reasons that you said, and I think that it's really it's an achievement, and the award's called Achievement in Original in Screenwriting. I think that it's really good, and I think it's very personal and extremely intimate, and I think it should have a real chance for that.
Go Jesse.
All right, adapted screenplay. We've got A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Emilia Perez, Nickel Boys, and Sing Sing. No major surprises here. I think I don't know where I go with this award. Do you have thoughts? I mean, I think that I would probably. I haven't seen Nickel Boys or Sing Sing, which makes it
right
difficult.
Same boat. We've only seen 3 out of the 5 of this category.
Right.
If I have to pick, which I do because this is what we're doing.
That's what we're doing.
If I have to pick, I'm gonna go with Sing Sing, and the biggest reason is because I think I watched, and maybe this is completely.
I love that. I love how many picks of yours are movies that you haven't seen, performances that you haven't witnessed. It's
I believe
fantastic.
in them. I believe in them. I believe that there is an HBO documentary, before there were documentaries about Sing Sing.
I'm sure.
I believe they did this in the early 2000s or even in the late 90s.
Sing Sing was referenced in a movie that maybe it was The Apprentice.
Maybe.
Because it's a prison, correct?
Yes.
Sing Sing. Yeah.
And I remember in this HBO documentary, I was fascinated. I was like, what? They're doing theater in a prison? What's going on here? I swear that in my mind that has to be that prison. Like, why else would it be another prison doing theater?
It is.
It has to be Sing Sing. So I feel like I know the journey. I feel like I've seen part of the movie because of that documentary. I need to find that documentary, and my vote is Sing Sing.
Yeah, mine's Conclave, because Emilia Perez sucks, and because A Complete Unknown pretty much sucks as well.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen the other two. And Conclave I thought was really good, and I think even having not read the book that it's based off of, um, it's evident what they were trying to do by adapting it, and I think that they clearly did some cool stuff with it with the adaptation that could have only been accomplished on film. The way that they showed things, the way that they just brought that whole thing to life. It's like, this is why you make it a movie right here.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's the winner for me. And I feel like, again, this is another one where if Conclave wins this award, I feel like it's one of these things. Any of those three, Conclave, A Complete Unknown, Emilia Perez wins, you start to go, could it be? Could they be the one?
Could it be?
Could it be? Which I know is like dumb because obviously Screenplay is going to feed in. But honestly, I really do like if Nickel Boys wins or Sing Sing's not even nominated for Best Picture. If Nickel Boys wins, I don't think it's winning Best Picture. I think it snuck in. I think it was like one of the last ones on the board. So I don't think it has a chance. But those three, I think, are all real contenders.
Isn't Nickel Boys like shot from first person perspective?
It's shot from first person perspective with two different characters.
Interesting.
And it switches in between them.
That's cool.
Which again, we go back to the idea of nominations not making sense. You know what Nickel Boys didn't get nominated for?
Cinematography.
It also didn't get nominated for any acting awards, but it got nominated for Best Picture. Then here you got Sing Sing, which got nominated for Best Actor in a Leading Role. Nearly like the other guy, what's his name? Macklin. He had to have
Clarence
been in
Macklin.
the top 10. Clarence Macklin had to have been in the top 10 for finishing. Nickel Boys, guys, nowhere to be found. And yet Nickel Boys gets nominated, but Sing Sing doesn't. It's weird.
What was that movie with Tim Roth where it was also first person? It was like something Rampage or
I don't know.
It had a really weird name and it was all first person the whole Hardcore Henry, that's what it was.
I've never seen that.
Came out in 2015, starred Tim Roth. You only see him at the very end. Haley Bennett is also in this film. Mr. Charlton Copley is in this movie. You might know him from District 9.
Yep.
Right. So, and Chappie, of course. But that's what I imagine when I think of first person. So trying to put that into like a true story is really breaking my brain
like a
right
Jim
now.
Crow story too, like
Right.
like a true story that's like also like a civil rights era story.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to wrap my head around as well. I just think it's funny that it got nominated for Best Picture. So you're like, oh man, the Academy was really digging what they chose to do with the cinematography, and it's like didn't get nominated for cinematography.
Nope. That's the first place it should have been nominated for.
What are we doing here? All right, so that brings us to Best Picture. The nominees for Best Picture, all 10, because there have to be 10 now. That's the new rule as of I think last year. Anora, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Emilia Perez, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys, The Substance, and Wicked. So here's where we get down to brass tacks, Kirk. What are you feeling? What are you feeling?
It is all over the place. It is such a disaster, this entire category.
I don't know, the nominations themselves are really kind of all over the place.
Oh, it's so hard. I've seen 6 of the 10 in this category.
Yeah.
I think you're closer. Are you at 9 out of 10?
I've seen all but
You're 8 out of 10.
Yeah, Nickel Boys and I'm Still Here.
Yep.
Here's what I'm harkening back to. Tell the lovely people in the audience what year you compared this to earlier.
Yes. So when I saw the nominees, I immediately said, this looks like the year of 2018 movies, the 2019 Academy Awards ceremony.
The one that Green Book won.
Green Book won.
Where Black Panther was also nominated. Black Klansman. Roma. It's A Star Is Born. So look at those two next to each other, because as soon as you said it, I was like,
Rhapsody is in there.
Yes. As soon as you said it, I was like, oh my gosh, it's so freaking similar. And what won that year was Green Book. So my theory on Best Picture has been, what's the safest winner? Because Green Book at the time, now I know there's been controversy since then, really because it won. People were like, but at the time, Green Book was like a very safe, like, here we have, a biopic type film. It's a period. It's, it's got these racial civil rights era,
but it's a feel-good
themes.
movie.
It's
It's
feel
optimistic.
good. Yes. Going on that wavelength, who wins it? For me, I think it might be Conclave, because Conclave is the one that nobody has bad things to say about except for Catholics. Makes sense.
Right.
But not being a Catholic myself, I will just say that, like, I have not seen many in the film community be like, Conclave sucks.
No.
I don't think I've seen anybody say Conclave sucks. I've seen people say Conclave is a little bit overrated, which I think can be fair. But I haven't seen anybody who's like, I can't stand this movie. That cannot be said for Emilia Perez. Certainly not. It cannot be said for A Complete Unknown.
Mm.
And it certainly can't be said for Wicked. It can't be said for The Substance. Honora's getting some heat. Brutalist, not everybody loves. I don't know. I feel like Conclave is the safest winner.
When you pose it like that, I think Wicked is the safest winner.
No.
I don't want it to be.
No.
But with that setup, with that volley that you just gave here, I really see Wicked as the safest bet because it's the movie event of the year. I mean, I still see people that are connected to me on social media that their kids are like belting Defying Gravity and doing it quite well. That's also shocking.
It's
like,
disturbing.
How do you do that? Like, that's not fair.
I don't like it.
So I don't want that to be the win, but with your hypothetical, I choose Wicked. What would I pick over all of these? I would also agree with you, and I disagree with you. I want to go Dune Part 2 to win.
Same.
I really
Dune.
do. I want it to win.
That's where I'm at, bro.
Can you blue out our eyes right now? With AI, I might add.
I'm pushing all my chips in on Dune. It has no chance of winning. I never thought we'd be at this point, and I'd say it has no chance of winning. I honestly think it has no chance of winning. I'm going to start crying because I'm saying that. For me, that's where I'm at too. And if I have to pick one, a different one, it would be Anora or The Brutalist for me, and maybe Conclave. Like, those are the four that I'm like, yeah. The Substance I liked. I don't think it's Best Picture. I'm glad it got hyped. I'm glad people are like, the horror bias is gone. Wrong. It's barely a horror movie. I mean, I don't even know. Like, because body horror is a thing, people, whenever they see this kind of stuff, they're like, it's horror. Kirk, we're talking.
No. Nosferatu deserves a spot in this top 10 easily.
Right?
Yeah.
Bro, that's the other part of these nominees. I'm like looking at the Nosferatu gets like production design, hair and makeup. Did he get cinematography? No, I don't think it did. It got a few technical categories, and I'm just like, okay.
It did get cinematography.
Oh, it did get cinematography. Thank God. But I'm like, how does that movie, like, the horror bias thing is still very much alive and well because it's the only reason it makes sense for Nosferatu not to be here. Otherwise, it definitely is in that. It should be nominated for Best Picture. But I'm not going to go down that road because people have known for a long time it's not going to get there. I think it's all because of the horror bias, whatever. But The Substance certainly doesn't prove that the horror bias is gone at all, is what I'm trying to say.
I just want to say that if two guys like us, look at us deep into our eyes. Look at us. If two guys like us can sit through a very scary movie like Nosferatu, so can the people of Hollywood.
Yeah.
They can sit through and watch it and say, you know what? Not my kind of movie, but I get it.
They won't do it.
They won't do it.
I can't. There's been too many good horror movies that have slipped through the cracks, and it just continues to happen. But so I'm just trying to say, for all those people who are like, The Substance did it. It's the first horror movie since Get Out to be nominated for Best Picture. I'm just like, pump the brakes. So you're saying you want Dune to win. What do you think is going to win? Wicked. That's what you're saying. Bro, musicals don't win Best Picture, do they?
They can. They did a long time ago.
What? Chicago?
Chicago was probably the most recent one. Wow, that was a while ago. But I feel like early, like,
yeah. Well, yeah.
The 20th,
the golden age,
the 30th Academy
I'm saying
Awards.
Anymore. I don't know that a musical can do it.
This could turn out. I mean, in the Best Actress category, there are 3 women nominated for musicals.
Emilia Perez is not a musical.
It's technically a musical. It's not a good musical.
All the songs are terrible. All the songs are terrible. Okay.
Hello,
So
very
that's our
nice
pick.
to meet you.
Bro, no. We both picked Dune. It's not going to win. You think Wicked could? Here's the other thing I'll say. I think Conclave. My official pick right now is that Conclave will win. Here's what you need to watch out for, and this will kind of segue us into the other themes we want to talk about as we kind of wrap up in the next 8 minutes or so.
We're here for 24 hours, guys.
Keep an eye out for A Complete Unknown. This is the last thing you want to hear. This is the last thing you want to hear. But watch this. It got nominated for screenplay. Not a huge surprise. Directing, though, that's a big surprise.
Wait a second.
And it got nominated for 8 overall. Kirk, it got nominated for hair and makeup. It got nominated for hair and makeup. How?
Hold on.
How?
I hate
Kirk?
this. I hate this so much.
Yeah, lay it on me.
It is. I haven't run the numbers, but of course I always talk about the big 5.
Yep.
Which is directing, best picture, directing, best actor, best actress, and screenplay, and it is nominated in all of those categories.
Read the tea leaves, Kirk.
If this
Monica Barbaro nominated, surprisingly. James Mangold, surprising nomination. It got, I'm going to say this again, 8 nominations overall. Now, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say Emilia Perez got 13, Brutalist got 10. I think, what was it? Did Honora or Conclave? Another one got 10 as well. But I'm just saying.
This cannot be the 4th movie to win the big 5. It cannot be. I will not allow it.
It's and here's the other thing that's really gonna grind your gears.
I hate
Kirk.
you.
Who's on SNL this weekend? Timmy C.
Timmy C as Timmy C and as Bob
as
Dylan.
the musical guest. Bro, this is it. This is what's happening.
Can we agree in our circle here that is the most cringy thing?
Yeah, it's bad.
That he is performing as his character in a movie he filmed.
It's really bad.
I hate it so much.
I think it's gonna I think it's gonna come across horribly.
Yes.
Yeah. So maybe it will torpedo the campaign of the movie.
Oof.
Or maybe it'll push them over the top.
I'm not gonna sleep tonight. You just ruined my night.
That's the one I'm watching because somebody flagged it. Somebody was like, "Hey, can we talk about how A Complete Unknown got 8 nominations?" And I was like, "Wait a second, that cannot be right." And then I looked at what they were nominated for, and I was like, "Uh-oh, we might be shaping up for we might be shaping up for it." It got nominated for costume design, Kirk. Costume design. That's the one it got nominated for. I said it got nominated for hair and makeup. It got nominated for costume design. Not hair and makeup. Hair and makeup would have been crazy, but costume design. How does it get nominated for costume design? You know what didn't get nominated for costume design, Kirk? Back to this one. Dune Part 2.
Mm-hmm.
How?
I don't want the Oscars to come.
Can
we skip this year? No awards this year.
I'm telling you, dude. I'm very woke. I'm very woke on that. On the A Complete Unknown train. I can see it building.
I'm nauseous.
I can see it building. Okay, let's talk other storylines and snubs. Let's get the big one out of the way. Emilia Perez came 1 nomination short of being tied for the most nominations in Academy Award history. So it is officially tied for second most Academy Award nominations ever, with some huge ginormo movies.
Yeah.
What in the world?
To put it into perspective, like Emilia Perez has more nominations than Godfather or Godfather Part 2 in their respective years.
Yeah.
It has 1 less nomination than Titanic. It has more nominations than some of the years of The Lord of the Rings and ties with others.
It ties with, exactly.
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
This movie is such a mess. A French male straight writer wrote this film about a transgender woman, a Mexican cartel man who becomes a woman.
Right.
And this is all shot in France.
Yeah, so it's not even shot in Mexico, right? It's making a musical out of the cartel are kidnapping and murdering everybody.
Yes.
Which the Mexican people were like, I'm sorry, what? You're going to sing terrible songs about this? Are you kidding me? Then the main character who you're supposed to sympathize, empathize for, you're supposed to be like, oh man, I really, she's just looking for happiness and this is her plight. as a person, how are you ever supposed to get on board with it? Even post transition, when she's on this like reformative journey to help connect people back with their missing loved ones
because
to kind of
the
like
crimes that she committed
herself, right? So she's trying to make that right. So you can go, okay, well, she's trying to cancel out what she did. That's great. She's still like manipulating her ex-wife, lying, like doing despicable, horrible things
to the very end.
I'm like, this person sucks.
Yeah.
The songs are awful. Okay, let's talk about this. So on the nomination front, it did get nominated for 2 songs, which is an atrocity, but it does bloat the count of things. Here's other things it got nominated for: original score. What?
Nope.
Editing. What? What? Are you kidding me? That one, cinematography. I almost fell out of my chair. You know what didn't get nominated for editing? And this is the one, dude. This is the other one that I was literally seething. And now I'm just throwing Stefano's advice earlier about it's just movies. I'm just throwing that out the window. Dune Part 2 didn't get nominated for editing.
Right.
How?
But you know what it didn't get nominated for?
What, Emilia?
It didn't get nominated for an actor in a leading role because they don't have any male actors in a leading role, so it will not be qualifying for the Big Five.
Well played.
Thank you so much.
And I guess also a win that Selena Gomez didn't get nominated.
That's a big win,
which I didn't think was going to happen. But
I love Selena.
I do too.
I don't think she was good in this.
No, she wasn't.
Poor
Those
Selena.
2 things are not mutually exclusive.
She still hasn't been cast in the right thing since Wizards of Waverly Place, and that is an atrocity.
It is. I also just don't think I like her as a singer, and I like her as a businesswoman who makes really smart, good products. We have one of her pots upstairs.
Wow,
it's amazing. Yeah, she's great.
I take that back. She was in The Fundamentals of Caring with Paul Rudd. She was great. She was fantastic in it.
There you go. So yeah, Emilia Perez, dude, an atrocity. The Dune stuff that I was talking about earlier, it doesn't add up. The fact that it didn't get nominated for editing, the fact that it didn't get nominated for costume design, both of those, I'm like, what are we doing? Directing, what are we doing? So how did it get nominated for Best Picture is what I don't understand. It doesn't even add up. Like, I'm glad it did, but it really doesn't add up whenever you start to stack everything else. The other things that don't make sense to me, look at A Real Pain. A Real Pain gets nominated for Best Actor in a Supporting Role. It also gets nominated for Best Original Screenplay, which is, I think it has more nominations than Nickel Boys did, or as many, and it didn't get nominated for Best Picture. Other things, Challengers got completely goose-egged.
Nothing.
How does that not get nominated for editing? How does that not get nominated for score? How does that not get nominated for original screenplay? I'm like, I'm here, like, that should be a Best Picture.
Yeah, none of it lines up.
It doesn't make sense when you add it all together. It doesn't actually make sense. Even though, like I said earlier, I'm sure Nickel Boys is a fine film. But when you look at what it's nominated for, and you look at what other films are nominated for or not nominated for, it doesn't actually make sense for it to be a Best Picture pick.
No. See, the thing is, like, in good years of film, you'll see a variety in all of the acting categories. You'll see some themes between lead actor, lead actress, but most of all, and even in this case, you've seen a variety here. But past that, it should be pretty concise.
Yeah.
It is not.
No.
It is not here in any way, shape, or form. We have people that have, like you said, A Real Pain has 2, Nickel Boys has 2 nominations, Sing Sing has 3, Conclave has 8, Anora 6, Dune has 5, Substance 5, Nosferatu 4, Emilia Perez 13, Brulis 10, Wicked 10. Even though Wicked's 10 doesn't even round out some of the biggest categories here. It all is just a mess.
It's
across
a mess.
The board.
It's a mess. I don't get it. So that's the thing, is like, honestly, overall, there are a lot of awards that I'm like, they did a good job on this. And the thing is, with the 10 that got nominated for Best Picture, there aren't any like that I'm super duper surprised by, except for maybe I'm Still Here, just because I haven't seen it and I wasn't expecting that one to get nominated. But there's nothing there that I'm like, I wasn't expecting this to get nominated. But in a year where, first of all, wasn't even that good of a year for movies, to mess up some of the nominations as badly as they did, it's like, they didn't mess up that much, but the stuff they did, they messed up really bad. And then whenever you start to put everything together, you go, it's just inconsistent and doesn't paint a clear picture of the year in film that we had. It doesn't paint a clear picture. And so I don't know what's going to happen, but I know that there's a lot of wrongness here.
I think Fernando's going to win it for Brazil this year.
There we go. Brazil, stand up.
I stand with Brazil. I want them to win it all.
Let's go. Let's go, baby. And win Best Picture. Who cares? If Dune's not going to win, I really don't care. I really don't. It's not going to, and I'm still reckoning with that. That occurred to me shortly after the nominations this morning when Denis didn't get nominated. I just kind of sat in that for a while.
Yeah.
And then I started putting together the like psychotic web on my wall
the red yarn
for Complete Unknown, and I was on the brink. I was like, I can't do this anymore.
I hate you for connecting that to me. I really do.
I think those are the worst possible outcomes. I think a Complete Unknown winning is a really bad outcome. I think Emilia Perez winning is a dreadful outcome. I think Wicked winning is a bad outcome.
Yeah.
Other than that,
a lot of people will be happy if Wicked wins.
Yeah, true.
And it will bring them back for next year for Wicked for Good to see if it happens to win that as well.
Yeah, it's true.
Good for numbers, good for broadcast numbers.
Yeah, and it's fine. They always, they've been trying to throw in one bit. That's part of the reason they expanded it to 10 is they really do want one of those movies, one of those mass appeal movies to sneak in there. The thing is, like, I don't know why they're not championing Dune. It's accessible. It's sci-fi. It's lots of people see it. Lots of people love it. It's got Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, all these huge stars.
Right.
Denis Villeneuve, this big name director. Like, it's a great celebration of film. I don't know why the Academy is not championing Dune.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it.
They don't like it for some reason.
I don't know. Give Dune what Wicked has. That's what I want. But they won't. They won't do it. They won't do it.
Dune Part 3, the musical.
Yeah, let's make it a musical. Dune Messiah, the musical. I'm for it. It's like, I'm sure Denis would freaking crush it, to be honest with you. All right. Well, that is our disjointed, ranty ending to our discussion about the Academy Award nominees. We didn't talk through all the technical categories because, frankly, we'd be here all night. And also, it'd be boring because some of these, it's like, best sound. Let's chat through it. And we do have opinions on all that stuff, but it's just not necessary to hash it out. Let us know what your snubs are. Let us know what your reactions are, who you think's going to win, who you're stoked to see nominated, because we did get a little bit negative there at the end, but we're for Brazil. We got a few things that we're tracking and we're happy about for sure. So let us know what the things were that when you heard the nomination, you were like, let's go.
Fernanda.
It's like me with Felicity Jones this morning. Like, come on. So let us know what your picks are, what the snubs are, everything you think about the Academy Award nominees. We're going to circle back around and do predictions before the awards. So we'll have more awards chatter coming, but had to get you guys in here to talk about this one because it's always hotly contested. But we've got a lot more content coming your way regarding the Academy Awards and just regarding the new year of film that we have that is underway, 2025. We were talking through some movies that we want to get reviews out for. We've already reviewed Wolfman this year, so you can check that out on our YouTube channel and podcast feed. You can also chat with us. If you just have like tons of thoughts on the Oscars or movies in general, our Discord is the best place to go to chat with us. You can hit the link down below in the description to join our Discord. It is free. Completely free. We talk in there as often as possible, but it'd be great to get more people in there because then it can kind of come to life a little bit more. Yeah. We're on every social media platform. We've also got a link tree you can hit to just figure out where we're at on every platform. But the best place to go to find everything is our website, popcorn4breakfast.com. You can find all of our blog content there. All of our episodes get updated there as well. You can find out where you can subscribe to us so you don't miss a single episode. Thank you so much for watching this one and being interested in our thoughts on the Academy Award nominees. Do not forget to share your thoughts. And of course, we want to give a special thanks to our executive producer, Ryan, the band Rhetoric, who created our original music, and our title sponsor, St. Louis Area Smoothie Kings. We will catch you guys on the next one.
Talk to you then.